Wes, how are you?
How's it going, Dan?
It's going. I got problems with my sinuses. I got something on my tongue. My nose hurts. My jaw hurts. Other than that, everything's beautiful. You?
Yeah, I'm fine, but it sounds like you're falling apart.
I gained too much weight. It's not happening. It's not happening. I gotta stop.
Yeah, I understand that. I've dropped about 30 pounds in the last 6 months, so I'm
So I
still.
mean, you're not a beer drinker, right?
Um, I never really have been, but being diabetic, I'm very limited as to the beers that I could drink.
Right, right.
There's the Bud Light Next, which has no carbs. I can have something like that, or if I want to limit myself to one, I can have something like a Michelob Ultra.
Why would you? But anyways,
Well, if you like what amounts to a cross between urine and seltzer.
and it's funny that ties into the Codger blend thing. Why do we do that? As we get older, we conform. What the hell is this all about?
Well, I don't know that it's necessarily that. There's a few reasons why I think so many older pipe smokers gravitate toward Codger blends. I mean, number one is the most obvious, and that is they're pretty affordable. And when you're on a fixed income, $18 for a 1 3/4 ounce tin of tobacco down here in the U.S. I understand how bad it is up there.
You got nothing to complain about.
Yep. But when you can get 12 or 14 ounces for around $30, that's a really good deal.
And first of all, Codger means old fart.
Yes.
Okay. So
Like
at 59, have I reached that age? I'm 59. Am I there or
oh
what?
hell yeah, sure.
Oh, Jesus.
You're an old fart.
Yeah. And the thing is that the Codger blends that you say, are cheap or this and this and that. Here, a pouch of Velvet, if you can get it, Velvet, for God's sake. And that's going to be our first tobacco. Is going to set you back $50, man.
No, it's not going to set me back $50.
Well, me, yeah. So you know what I'm saying?
Yeah, I do.
It's insane here. And I mean, I'm not a cigarette smoker, but now there's going to be a law enforced here that on every single cigarette is written the warning label.
That's pretty cool.
Yeah.
I like that. You're hanging out with friends, you take out a butt, and you're announcing to people, hey, I'm going to kill myself while we're having a beer or whatever.
I mean,
look, it's gone way, way over the top. Are there risks involved? Of course there are. And anybody who goes into it without knowing that there are risks probably shouldn't even be chewing gum. But at the same time, I mean, when it comes to pipes and pipe tobacco and cigars, the risks are certainly less than they are with cigarettes, and there are benefits, I find. I mean, the stress reduction I have when I sit down with a pipe is probably as good as any of the pills my doctor wants to give me.
Yeah. I mean, yes. And what was I going to say? I wanted to discuss this with you. I'm the type of person that if I'm doing something and I got a pipe in my mouth, I'm puffing away like a train.
Of course.
It's like, what the hell is going on?
Yeah, no.
I'm choking.
No, it's a subconscious reaction. You know, you're doing something else, and especially if your mind is going at a good pace, your actions catch up.
So the only way to smoke a pipe is to shut up, sit down, and put the pipe in your mouth, and that's it.
Well, once you get a cadence and pay attention to it for a while, you can avoid that.
Yeah, well, I'm not there yet. I'm still too young.
Yeah, yeah. You'll probably have it figured out probably by 90, 95.
I hope I get there, man. Okay, Russ, I'm gonna pick your brain now. So the first one is velvet. Okay,
Yep, yep.
now let me see here. This is the Scandinavian. Oh, this is owned by the mob. It's owned by the mob. The Scandinavian Tobacco Group.
Yeah, I'm one of the enforcers.
I'm sorry. I'm sorry. I didn't want to. I didn't want to disrespect you or anything.
That's all right.
So it's blended by Lane. What's Lane?
Okay, Lane Limited started in Germany in the 1800s. And in the 1930s, the I don't know if it was the nephew or the great nephew of the founder moved to New York City and founded the company there. And they operated as a brick and mortar for many years. And then it was in the 60s or 70s that Lane um, started selling at retail shops around the country. Their bulk blends, Captain Black, and continued along for quite a while. And then they were purchased by the British American Tobacco Group, and then they were sold from BAT to STG. And then they also acquired a number of old Codger blends along the way, like Velvet, Sir Walter Raleigh, a half and half, Granger. So, and now everything's being made in Denmark because they couldn't see the sense in having a manufacturing facility in the U.S. and one in Denmark. So they consolidated the two operations. So now it's coming out of Denmark.
Yeah, but their tobacco. If Lane was getting their tobacco from the states,
Mm-hmm.
now the STG are exporting this or importing it. I mean, I don't even know what it is to Denmark.
Right.
So why didn't they just set up shop in the states if it's a states thing?
Because then we would have had to manufacture here in the US and ship product over to Europe. So, I mean, it's you got to shut one or the other down.
Mm.
And I think probably the main reason they wanted to consolidate it to Denmark is with the headquarters over there, they're in a position to keep an eye on things a little bit better.
You mean the Godfather?
Um, I don't have a godfather. He passed away a long time ago.
All right, all right, all right. Um, it's so okay. So the brand, because I got this from tobaccoreviews.com, the brand is STG. It's blended by Lane, but
Yeah,
it's manufactured by STG.
yeah,
That
yeah.
doesn't make any sense to me.
STG owns Lane. I mean,
So
what they're
basically,
what they're specifying is that because it's a Lane product, it can be sold in all the markets where Lane products are sold, but not necessarily where all STG brands are sold.
can I get the choice of STG tobaccos in Denmark here? All of them? All of them. or
No,
no?
no.
Is there a reason for that?
A few. First off, sales volume on some of the items is low enough in Europe that introducing them to the US doesn't make a lot of sense. But also, the FDA says that anything that wasn't on the market in the US on February 15th of 2007, if it were introduced after that, it's considered a new blend, and new blends aren't allowed under the new FDA regulations.
Even with a fee?
They don't care about the money. The reason that they want that cutoff date is that if you introduce anything after that date, it's not the fee that manufacturers are concerned about. It's the fact that they're going to run it through testing, which will take at least a year. And then there's no guarantee that they're even going to approve it, even after you've paid a fee.
Hi, I'm a multi-billion-dollar company. Can you expedite this, please?
You're talking about the FDA. That's the U.S. government. The U.S. government moves at the speed of smell.
Well, if you know my ex-mother-in-law, that's fast. But anyways, yeah. But anyways, okay, all right. I mean, look, it's a messed up world. What can I tell you? Everybody, but you can't grease somebody. You know what I'm saying? Remember the good old
you
days?
could.
Hey,
You
Martin,
possibly.
here's a
You
couple of
possibly. You possibly could. We won't. STG is very clear. Everything is open and above board.
I get it. You won't. I understand. You won't. I get it, Russ. I get it.
Yeah,
okay.
we don't do it.
Enough of the what you call it, the criminal activity there. But okay.
Okay. All right.
So it's Burley. It's a Burley brand.
Yes, it is.
Now it says contents Burley and Kentucky. Explain Kentucky again.
Well, okay. It depends on the modifiers to the word Kentucky.
I see.
If they just say Kentucky, they're referring to generally burley grown in Kentucky.
That's it.
But if they say dark fired Kentucky, it's the Kentucky form of burley that has been fire cured.
Okay.
But in the case of velvet, it is not dark fired. It is Kentucky burley.
So the contents that says Burley and Kentucky. So the Burley from Kentucky is made in Kentucky. So the Burley from Burley is made in the Burley state.
It can come from any number of states in the U.S. It could come from Africa. It could come from South America because burley is grown in those places too. I don't know exactly where they get it from, although I'm guessing some of it's from Ohio. They like to use a particular type of burley called Green River. And most of the Green River burley comes from Ohio or that area. And they use a shade that is commonly called mahogany burley.
Ooh, I like
that. So it's kind of a medium brown with a reddish tint to it.
Hey, Russ, have you ever tried that? Take different tobacco leaves, chop it up, add a vinaigrette, and eat it? I mean, can you?
No, I'm not a fan of throwing up.
It's that bad,
huh? Well, let's put it this way. When I played baseball, I tried chewing tobacco while I was pitching.
Yeah.
And my cleats got caught in the space between the rubber and the concrete slab underneath. And so as I was letting go of the pitch, my foot didn't release and I wound up falling over. And when I did, I swallowed my
Oh, that's
chew.
disgusting.
And it only took me about 2 minutes to lose it then. So the idea of a tobacco salad is not appealing to me.
Well, I don't know. Put some Italians on it; they'll make something wicked. The flavoring is alcohol. What do they mean alcohol? Like what? Alcohol. Uh,
Liquor.
yeah,
It's
but liquor. Like what type of alcohol?
I don't know. I don't work for Lane, so
Oh, I see.
I don't know. I don't know this stuff, but typically with a burley, you might use rum or whiskey as a
Okay,
flavor, but there's definitely an anise note
right,
in Velvet.
right. And it's funny that you say that. Anise. A lot of the tobaccos I like are, I guess, if I'm mistaken with this term, old style tobaccos like
Uh,
War Horse, um, some Samuel Gawith that have this anise in it. I seem to like that, and I keep thinking it's old style tobacco. Am I wrong with
no,
thinking that?
no, you're not. But kind of differently today than in the past. Today, if there's an anise note to a tobacco, it's most likely applied as a top dressing.
Mm,
And most of the companies, I think, use something called anethol. And basically, that's what gives anise that licorice flavor
okay,
when it's extracted. So
okay,
it's pretty potent.
okay, and
I'm
pipes.
sorry, but in the old days, you would have gotten it because they used to use licorice root as a casing,
Okay,
but they've modified the formulas over the years.
because it's cheaper, I guess.
Cheaper, easier, I don't know.
Okay, and it's funny that you mentioned that because is it an extract or is it a chemical equivalent?
Um, it's kind of in between the
Mm,
two. It's
okay,
extracted from sources of anethol, but it does have to be processed to get
I
to the
gotcha.
final. Yeah.
You know when you go into those high end stores to buy groceries, whatever. Sometimes I walk in there just to freak out, and they're selling you truffle oil.
Mm-hmm.
Ain't no truffles in there. It's just a chemical equivalent that mimics the truffle scent.
Yeah, or they can steep truffles in the oil depending on where you go. The difference between the artificially flavored truffle oil and the naturally flavored truffle oil is probably about $50 a quart.
50 bucks a tablespoon, maybe. But anyways, okay. So and the thing is that on in pipes and cigars, the place that you're associated with, um, these Codger blends are the ones that sell the most, right?
Um, Actually, I mean, most of what we sell is bulk tobacco.
Okay,
But among packaged tobacco, yeah, I'd say we probably sell more of the Codger blends than we do pretty much any other type. Aromatics amount to over 90% of our sales.
right. That's what you were saying. Okay, and does that mean that the people you sell to um are like my father-in-law, my existing father-in-law, who's a great guy, simple man. And when I say simple, I'm talking about simple, no
Yeah.
problems, no nothing. He was a lobster fisherman,
Okay.
and the way they eat their lobsters, all 2,000 people that live in that town, is boiled and creamed. and that's the way it's gonna be, and that's the way you're gonna eat it, and that's it. So,
Okay.
I mean, if I come up and I say, "Hey, man, let's fry it up with a bit of garlic and make a whatever a frou thing," they're like, "You're crazy. You're crazy. You're ruining it." But anyways, so the people buying these Codger blends, have they given up like my father-in-law? Have they conformed and they said, "You're crazy. I buy Velvet, and that's it. Everything else is crap"?
There are a number of people who, over the years, their tastes have become simplified. They settle into one thing, and that's what they enjoy. But at the same time, there are other people who, all right, if you go to a cookout,
Yeah,
and you're going to have beers while you're having the cookout,
that's right.
it doesn't really matter pretty much what beer is in there.
Not really.
No, you're just pounding some suds while you're having
It's part of the deal.
having some food and hanging out.
Yeah,
But maybe at home you've got craft beers in your fridge
yeah, yeah.
because you're only going to have one, and you want something really good.
Yeah.
It's the same idea with Velvet and all the other Codger blends. They're when you're puffing mindlessly while you're watching TV or taking the dog for a walk or whatever, you're not paying a lot of attention to the flavor profile of the tobacco. You're just puffing away as, a way of calming down, relaxing, and the flavor doesn't have as much of an impact.
You're ruining the art of the smoke, Russ.
There is no art. And anybody who tries to convince you of that is really reading their own press clippings. I'm sorry. Pipe smoking is what you make it.
Yes, of course. And
if you're into it and you want to investigate all the nuances in the different blends and everything else, great. And maybe you buy no pipes under $500 and whatever. And if you got the money, okay, you can do it. But I don't know about you, but in my life, I've got too much stuff going on. And there are some times I light up a pipe and I'm not paying a lot of attention to what I'm smoking, regardless of what I do for a living.
It's funny. You seem like you have a chip on your shoulder as soon as I said, "All right, Russ."
No, I'm sorry. I get frustrated by people who try to make this something more than it is.
I know what you're saying.
Is it one person out of 100 who has the kind of lifestyle that they can do that?
Oh,
Well, if that's the case, if that's one person out of 100, the people I'm concerned about are the other 99.
No, I understand.
I'm doing what I can to give them stuff that they'll enjoy at a price they can afford.
Yeah, and I'm being devil's advocate here, And the thing is that when I do my tobacco reviews and I'm pairing the tobaccos with the food. This is once in a blue moon that I do this. Like, after I have a nice steak, I'll have this. But the regularity of it is like I wake up in the morning, have a cup of coffee, and shove a pipe in my mouth with a tobacco, whatever.
Exactly.
Yeah. All right. Okay. So, we did the Velvet. So now we're going to do Sir Walter Raleigh. All right.
Okay. Yeah.
Look at that. It's owned by the same company.
My God.
Who knew?
Wow.
That's amazing. It's Burley based. And it's got anise, and it's a little sugary. Is it more
Yeah,
sugary than velvet?
I would say so.
And now, why is Burley the choice of Codger blends so far?
Okay, there are a number of reasons. The yield is high,
Ah,
so Burley will tend to be a bit less expensive. It being air cured, there's a little less loss than there is like Virginia, which is a very thin leaf. So some of it during the curing process is going to wind up being unusable. Um, Also, Burley takes on flavorings better than any other tobacco.
okay. So it's like tofu.
Yeah, yeah,
Okay, okay,
that's a very good analogy.
okay, okay.
Um, and um, and here's the reason I think Burley blends have a big impact. When you get into pipe smoking, one of the things that you think about when you see other people smoking a pipe are these big clouds of smoke. And you can get that from Burley. You don't get that from Virginia. Virginia smoke is very thin in comparison. And that's because Burley has a lot of oil in comparison to Virginia. And it's the oil that creates the smoke. If you're going to puff mindlessly on a tobacco, I would say that the best bet for you is Burley because with the high oil content and low sugar content, it's not going to burn that fast. And it's not going to burn that hot, and it produces enough smoke that you don't feel the need to puff furiously.
I
So
guess,
there are a
yeah.
number of advantages to good old Burley blends.
And that psychology that you just used right now, is that used by blenders knowing full well?
It's used by blender because I can tell you that I use it, but I can't speak for anybody else.
Oh, okay, okay, okay. I see. And I mean, a base Burley blend, other than it being nutty, because it is nutty. A nice Burley is nutty.
Walnut,
Um,
pecan.
Pecan, eh? It's fun. Okay, me, it's walnuts. I didn't get into
No, I
pecan.
said walnut or pecan.
Okay,
It's in that area.
okay. And so this is Sir Walter Raleigh.
Yeah.
Okay, and these Codger blends, Russ, are they uh are they used? There's someone at my door, and it's a woman, and she's knocking. Can I put you on hold for a second?
Does she have a shotgun and an arrest warrant?
No, no, no. But
Okay.
I gotta put on my pants, for God's sakes.
Oh God.
Okay,
Go ahead.
so I'm just gonna. I don't know if you want to sing a song, Russ. Do so. Oh, hold on. She's leaving. She's leaving,
Oh.
and she's knocking again. Hold on. Okay, I'll be back. I'll be back.
Let the dog take care of it. I'm not very good at dancing with only one real leg, and my singing days are in the past. If I had known this was going to happen, I would have cleared off the keyboard and I would have played you a ditty. But it's all messed up. So by the time I got it taken care of, Dan would be back, and that doesn't make a whole heck of a lot of sense. So I'll pass on that. But this is interesting. I'm glad we're talking about these tobaccos because I really kind of I get disheartened by people looking down their nose at these tobaccos. Yes, they're inexpensive. Yes, they're simple. But there's a lot of people out there who love them. So if anybody is knocking them, it's really the same thing as knocking the people who smoke it. And I won't do that. You like what you smoke and smoke what you like. Um, so, but it is good to talk about these blends. I My father smoked blends like that for many years, and I still enjoy them on occasion. Down on my table downstairs, which is near the door that I normally leave the house by, I have a can of velvet sitting on that table. So if I'm heading out the door, I can grab a pipe, load up a bowl, head out. And up here behind me on the shelf, I've got some pouches of Sir Walter Raleigh. So I don't look down my nose at those blends. I smoke them myself from time to time, and so it's good that we're talking about these. Um, if Dan takes a look at this afterwards, odds are pretty good he's going to edit all this out anyway. But I'll talk to you in the meantime. I don't know. It's taking a while. I'm pretty sure that must have been an arrest warrant that the woman had, but we'll have to see. If he doesn't come back, after 4 or 5 hours, I'll have to cut out and do other things. Worst part about it is I can't really even help him with bail. I'm about 450 miles away. But I'm interested to see which other blends we're going to talk about beside Velvet and Sir Walter Raleigh. And I've done a number of Codger blends myself in the Hearth and Home Midtown series, and I've also made some for Hearth and Home Signature, and so I certainly do not look down my nose at these blends or the people who enjoy them. And I'm sorry if if the sound got a little messed up. I had to turn on the AC. It's going up near 90 here today, so it started to get a little toasty.
Sorry about that, Russ.
That's perfectly all right.
It was the dog people. They wanted money.
Oh, I thought you needed bail. Okay.
No, because here in Quebec, everything is taxable. Everything.
I see.
Yeah. Anyways, okay, so we're done with Sir Walter Raleigh. Righty? Righty.
Okay.
The next blend is Prince Albert. Now, the brand is John Middleton. What's that, Russ?
They're their own company. They're responsible for Prince Albert, Carter Hall. They used to have Middleton Cherry Blend, Middleton Apple, Black and Gold, a few other blends. And now their portfolio has just shrunk down to Prince Albert and Carter Hall.
I was going to say, how come there's not a hostile takeover by STG? You know what I'm saying?
I don't know. I don't know why they haven't pursued it. Probably I would guess it's because they don't want to sell. Um,
Man, some of the hard nose, eh? Look at that.
well, right now, I believe the majority of their business is actually little cigars because they do make little cigars under the Prince Albert brand
Okay.
and the black and gold. And so I think they're just keeping those two brands alive to keep them alive.
And like, can't STG make an offer they can't refuse?
Well, I suppose they could, but who wants to overpay for anything?
Right, right. Okay, so this again is Burley based,
Yep.
and there's Cavendish in it. Now, I've got a prejudice against Cavendish. Why do I keep thinking Cavendish is that black, sticky stuff, man?
Well, that's because they call it Black Cavendish, but Cavendish is not necessarily Black Cavendish.
What is Cavendish?
In the original meaning of the name, it comes um, from a captain on the old wooden sailing ships. And so they wanted to carry their tobacco with them. So what he would do is dip tobacco leaves in rum, and then they would nail it to a mast and they'd start twisting it into a rope. And they would layer more and more leaves on as they twisted it. And then they would coil up the rope and put it in a wooden cask to keep it on board ship. Now, these are wooden sailing ships, so they didn't allow smoking on the ships. So people would go by and they would cut a piece off and they would chew it. And then when they got to shore, they would take a chunk and carry it with them. And then they would slice it up into coins and put it in their pipe while they were on liberty.
Well,
And
that sounds quite delicious, as a matter of fact.
and his name was Cavendish. So the idea of flavoring tobacco and using some form of pressure to embed the flavor into the leaf became known as Cavendish.
Now, wouldn't that be more of a Navy twist?
Um, yeah, but that name certainly came long after the concept. Um, the the idea then moved into pressed tobaccos. So if you take a look at like the Peter Stokeby Cavendishes, the way they were done is they were flavored, put into a mold and pressed, then sliced, and then mechanically tumbled out into a ribbon. But you could tell that's how they were made because if you went through it, you would see that it was kind of like a mix between a ribbon and a broken flake.
Yes.
And so the idea is that the pressure would embed the flavor into the leaf more deeply. Today, the name really doesn't mean anything other than flavored tobacco because manufacturers have moved away from that old definition of Cavendish to just Cavendish meaning it's got some kind of flavoring.
Oh, really? Okay. And it's funny because in the flavoring notes it says none.
Yeah, which is also crap because Prince Albert definitely has a noticeable cocoa note to it, and I believe that they use molasses in the casing.
You remind me of that Canadian guy who um, takes on magicians and illusionists, Randy. That guy, Randy.
The amazing
And
Randy,
he debunks them totally.
who unfortunately passed away last year.
I didn't know that.
I loved watching him
He would
because
just kill them.
he would never take on professional magicians. He would take on the phonies, the people who were magicians trying to pass themselves off as mentalists or
And
whatever.
make a buck, yeah.
And he would just destroy them.
Destroy them.
Uh, I loved when he would go on a talk show.
Yeah. All right, let's get to another one.
Okay.
Let's get to Carter Hall. Look at that. John Middleton.
Yep.
And it's
Now
Burley again.
but it's a mixture of Virginia and Burley.
You got it, baby.
And I made my own version of Carter Hall. It's in the Hearth and Home Midtown series called Chatham Manor.
Okay.
And the reason we did that is because there were periods of time where months at a time we couldn't get Carter Hall or Prince Albert. So we decided we wanted to come up with something of our own so that there would be something for people when Carter Hall wasn't available. And believe it or not, it was all done by telephone. I knew approximately what the tobacco blend was, so I put the blend together on my workbench, and I had a bunch of different flavorings also. And when I smelled it and tasted it, my analysis, the best I could come up with, is a mixture of vanilla and whiskey. So I came up with a combination, and I made my blend in my workshop, and I thought it turned out pretty damned well. And so I got on the phone and I called Sutliff because they manufacture Hearth and Home for us. And I spoke to the master blender down there at the time. And I told him what I put together in terms of tobacco. And I told him what I did in terms of flavor. But what I could do with flavor and what he can do with flavor are totally different.
Meaning?
Meaning that I had straight flavorings. Now, in the factory, they take those flavorings and they dilute them with a carrier. But I didn't have a carrier to work with. So we knew it was going to take a little dialing in. So I told him what I did, and he made up a sample and shot it off to me. And when I got it, the flavoring was way too heavy. So I talked to him again and I said, Carl, can you cut the flavor in half? And so he did that. He made up a sample, sent it off to me, and I lit it up, and we were right there. And it was all done by phone.
But how can you mimic a tobacco? And I'm assuming this, not having the same leaves, like the same leaf grown in the same place.
Yeah, well, you can do things to accommodate that. You can not use the same proportions as what you're trying to copy, because maybe your burley is a little bit stronger than what they use, so use a little bit more Virginia, a little less burley. There are little things that you can do to modify it, and the flavorings aren't the same. I never tried to make an exact copy of something. I try to come up with something that has the same characteristics, but am I going to hit it exactly? Once in a great while, I'll get close enough for hand grenades. But for the most part, I'm just looking to do a tribute.
If you were Canadian, that analogy you just said there, that close enough for hand grenades, that's because you're American. That's how you say hand grenades. If you were Canadian, you'd say close enough for flowers or something like that. What's with this aggressivity?
Why are you being so paffy?
It was a chance. It was a chance. Hey, come on.
Just so you know, I don't own any firearms. Just because I'm American does not mean I own a gun.
Oh man, if I was American, I'd be a collector. Oh, holy moly! Would I have it? I'd have an armory. But anyways, so that was Carter Hall, and it's bourbon. The flavoring bourbon, cocoa/chocolate. So the vanilla is in there somewhere.
The cocoa note that people pick up is from the burley. It's not from the top note. There's definitely no chocolate or cocoa in the top note.
So, I mean, the contents are burley and Virginia. What percentage of each?
In my version of it, it's 2-1. Burley to Virginia.
Okay, all right, and I mean, is the reason why they went Virginia? Does it cost them more to put in Virginia?
Yeah, marginally. Yeah, by weight, Virginia is more expensive. They did it so that they didn't have to add any sweetener.
Okay, I thought sugar was cheaper.
Yeah, but if you don't do it right, it throws off the flavor of the blend.
Right. Okay.
But the natural sugars, it's kind of hard to screw that up.
Okay, so we got our last one here, Russ. And obviously, now look at that. It's owned by STG. And it's the first one that they call an aromatic, if I'm not mistaken. Yeah, it's the first one they call an aromatic. And it's half and half.
I'd still consider half and half a semi-aromatic.
And what about the other ones like Velvet and would you?
Yeah, they're all semi-aromatics.
Okay. So yeah, go ahead, Russ.
I know this one really well because after my father's tobacconist closed up shop, he switched to half and half, and that's what he smoked for probably the last 15 years of his life. So I'm well familiar with this blend. Again, it's another mixture of Virginia and burley. The tagline that's on the can is burley and bright. And this one, though, definitely is more aromatic and is very different in flavor profile than the other ones you talked about. And that's because a lot of the flavors come from spices. So they use coriander in there. I believe mace is one of them. And if you're not familiar with, well, you're probably familiar with it, but mace is the outer shell of a nutmeg. Yeah. And so it uses those warm spices for a flavor and a very unique type of flavor. And it's interesting because that's the way it was back in the old days. And then when half and half was purchased, and I can't remember who it was that was making it for a period of time, but they switched up the flavorings.
Isn't it manufactured by Saint Group? Street Group? ST Group?
That's us. ST.
Oh, for God's sake.
No, I'm talking about before STG bought it.
All right.
And they changed it to something different. So the spice flavorings were pretty much gone. But when STG bought it, they went back to the roots. And so it uses that combination of spices for a top note.
So you're saying these guys at STG actually give a crap?
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, I'm just because I'm not a corporate guy, Russ. I mean, anybody who's a big corporate that's like, they don't even have a hand in the bloody thing. It's all numbers. You know what I'm saying?
Hey, look, I'm a corporate guy by definition of employment, but I certainly don't think like a typical corporate guy. But that's why I'm in the position I'm in.
Okay.
I'm not a manager because I'm allowed the freedom to be creative.
And you know what? They're smart enough to have done that. You know what I mean? Let the coach be a coach, for God's sake, And I'm referring to the Montreal Canadiens, those idiots that they have to, Molson has to stick their nose all the time in the Montreal Canadiens. Let you hire the coach. Let the coach be the coach. Don't get me started, please.
No, I understand that. And yeah, I do give them a lot of credit. But for many years, because I'd be the one going to the pipe shows, I was the one writing articles for PNC. People either thought I owned it or I was the manager, and I've never been either.
Oh man,
I just happen to have a background in blending and a long history in the business, but that certainly doesn't mean I want to run anything.
Yeah, I understand. I personally, I wouldn't have the energy or the brains to run something like that. But I mean, if you were STG, Russ STG, where would you be right now, Russ?
Sitting on the Riviera with a rum and coke,
Yeah.
with my feet in the water. Yep. Oh, with a pipe, yeah.
And
Yeah.
what type of tobacco would you have?
Yeah, with a pipe.
And what type of tobacco?
What type of tobacco?
Yeah.
Hell, I smoke 24 karat gold flakes.
There you go, man.
If I had that kind of money.
Russ, all these blends, I'm gonna be stupid, for lack of a better word. Do they use cheaper tobacco?
They don't have to. And
You said enough.
I'll tell you why. Because there are plenty of places to use the cheaper tobacco other than pipe tobacco. They can use the cheaper tobacco to make cigarettes, and who cares? The people who are smoking a cigarette aren't smoking it for the flavor. They're smoking it for the nicotine hit.
But what about the people who smoke the Gauloise or Gitan?
They're really smoking it for the nicotine hit. Because if you've smoked one, you know what I mean by that. They taste like crap.
Can you pipe that tobacco?
Oh, sure you could, but you'd have to pack it really, really tight.
It's dry?
Well, it's dry and it's very, very fine cut.
God,
And they used to sell it. They used to sell it in pouches for hand rolling, but it's super fine cut, so you have to pack it really tight. But it's got a very harsh flavor, and
really? It's a lovely smell. I love the smell.
Yeah, because it's natural tobacco.
Huh.
The other place that you can use Burley, where if you use the cheaper stuff, it won't matter, is chewing tobacco. Because you sauce chewing tobacco so heavily. They dredge it in like a molasses base and stuff like that, that who the hell's going to be able to tell if it's good quality or poor quality tobacco? So
Okay.
there's plenty of places for the lousy tobacco to show up where it won't be noticed. So for pipe tobacco, pretty much everybody uses pretty good quality tobacco.
Okay. Well, thanks for ruining the romance. Can I tell you?
That's my lot in life.
Russ.
It's my job to ruin things for people. Just ask my ex.
Oh man, sorry if I busted your chops there before. I got you a little bit riled up, but I mean, come on, come on. This is a
No,
real.
look, let's just break it down. I said it while you were gone. Like what
Okay.
you smoke, like what you smoke what you like.
Yeah.
I'm not going to cast any judgment upon anybody for any tobacco they want to smoke. If you want to smoke it, great. There are some tobaccos I find absolutely putrid, but I'm never going to look down my nose at somebody
Nah,
because
man.
they like it.
No, 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 no. I understand 100%, and yeah, capiche. Okay, Russ. So till next time, I guess. Guess till next time. I guess. Guess.
Keep guessing.
Okay. Have a good
Eventually,
one, Russ.
eventually you'll get it right.
Have a good one. Thank you very much.
Not at all.